Hello and welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim. I'm joined by Kirsty. How are you?
Getting really excited. We're actually getting really close to E3.
Yes.
As we go to air in Melbourne, we are literally next week.
Yeah.
When E3 starts. So this is like
Super
almost
excited.
your last episode before
Oh.
you're off to America.
Yes, and well, the CD Projekt Red conference is going to be first up before E3, so I'll be at home excited watching that, and then I head off to E3 and see the big one. So it's very exciting. Very exciting.
I can't believe it's that time of the year already. Like that's the thing that scares me. I mean, we're going into con season. We have E3 to start with, then we go to stick with the big ones. Then we go into Gamescom, then we go into Tokyo Game Show, and then bringing it back to Melbourne, we have EBX and PAX Oz. So it's just, this is it.
Big few months, yeah.
Yes, very, very big.
Very exciting. And all the news is coming out before E3, which is really weird.
It's really interesting to talk to people about this. It's like E3 used to be announcements, but now it's all pre-E3.
Yeah, you get the announcements before E3 and then you get the information at E3. I don't know how I feel about that.
But it's good, I guess, if you're a Yankee and if you were deciding, should I make the trip to LA? That's when it works. But as an overseas outlet, it doesn't actually help at all. Sometimes it can actually make the trip less worthwhile because it's already been told. It's like, well, what's the point in me going? So... But I guess that's the modern media, though. It's also hard to keep things under wraps, so that might be a case of why they're doing it.
They release it before it gets leaked.
Exactly.
But more exciting things in this episode. One of the huge releases, Transistor.
I know.
By Supergiant Games. I'm really keen for that one.
Pretty. Yeah. And another really big one for you is Wolfenstein.
Yes, the new Wolfenstein, The New Order. Very exciting things coming out of Bethesda. We've also got a new graphics content episode, so have a look at that one. And
I got an
interview from
with
Brock.
Brock from Pokemon, so a bit of a childhood kind of relapse, but let's go straight into the review of Transistor.
I was a massive fan of Bastion from Supergiant Games, as was Nars here, Australia turned reviewer. And so we were very much looking forward to their latest game, Transistor, weren't we?
Yeah, I was really excited. I've been hyped for it for years, even when it was first announced, and there was absolutely no details for it, but I was still as hyped as ever.
Oh, of course, the launch trailer was something special, and now we've got to play with it, and it's very much denser than Bastion, I reckon. Let's just start with the combat, because that's a very sort of much more complex system than just press A to hit the guys, right?
Yeah, Bastion was fairly straightforward. It was click the button and something will happen. With this, there's a good mix of very streamlined and fluent and strategy. You can pause time, basically, and you can set all of your moves up to quickly happen after time has reset. And it allows you to come up with a lot more of an influence behind what actually happens in strategy rather than just clicking forward and attacking.
Not to mention the way that you sort of select your moves as well, because you get 16 functions over the course of the game, 16 moves basically. But the thing is though, you can only equip 4, but you can also use the other moves to sort of buff certain moves, and you can have certain passive abilities as well. It really encourages some good experimentation.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to accomplish a goal, and it allows a lot of the story to be unlocked as well, because you can unlock certain details of different characters through using different moves.
And you get to see it all in giant blocks of text, which gets to my main issue with Transistor, is that the world is so interesting, there's so much intrigue there, but it's hidden in so much mystery though. It's almost distracting to try and get through the game, trying to discover what's happening when you end up missing out on, well, what's really good about it.
Yeah, I found that there was a few minor flaws with the amount of mystery in it. The game itself is fairly short in my opinion. I clocked it in about 6 or so hours, but you've got your brilliant composer, Darren Korb.
Oh yeah.
You've got your brilliant narrator coming back for the second time, Logan Cunningham, who did Rocks in Bastion. He comes back as the main narration. And I just found the game to be overall a really brilliant experience.
Oh, it's a beautiful game, it's a sleek game, it's an elegant game, except for the storytelling. It's a shame that that falls apart, because otherwise Transistor is certainly a superlative game from Supergiant Games.
Yeah, very absorbing and very brilliant. I liked it a lot.
So the usual question of would Timmy play it, this is a yes, but I take this because this is not a Japanese game, so this is not a real...
This is very much a Western game, but coming from Bastion, I am so keen for this game. I've been playing Wolfenstein, catching up on my reviews and doing a bit of Witcher 2 as well, but this game is I'm going home right now to play it as soon as we're finished.
What, you're
filming.
going to not play Dota?
No,
Are
no.
you sure? Are you feeling okay too? Like, this is a bit bizarre for
Dota
you.
can take like a side seat for now because I'm so
okay,
keen for
we got
Transistor.
that on record, right? Like, can I please have that in like a GIF format so I can just play that?
But I do want you to share my passion because I love Bastion and this looks amazing. Everyone's loving it. Will you play it? Because I really want you to.
I do. Like, I mean, I may not play that many kind of, like this. I haven't played Bastion.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody. But this game and Bastion's always been at like top of my list. I am actually genuinely excited for this game as
You
well.
can play that on Google Chrome in the browser.
Then I definitely won't play it because I use Firefox, the superior web experience.
Yep.
So I won't be using that. But I do play PC games. I play Solitaire, so I can play. Transistor should be fine.
Yep.
No, I am really excied because the story seems interesting. I know how important Bastion was as a game.
Gorgeous. Absolutely.
And it
gorgeous.
looks, oh man, like I watched this on TV to watch the trailer again,
Yeah.
and it was so like it was just still so moving. Like there was something in it that moved me, and that's really interesting. And I love that art style. But I know some of the game mechanics sound a bit bizarre.
I think it works. I've played a bit of it, and
Yeah.
the turn-based stuff, like the pausing and you like line up all your moves and stuff, works really well. So I'm
Okay,
looking
I'll
forward.
take your word for it.
Now I'm here today to have a look at Star Wars Force Assault, which I'd like to say is a card game. It's technically a strategy game set in the Star Wars universe. It's got its own story. You start off as Han Solo with Chewbacca, but you pick up all of your favorites, your C-3POs, your Leias, all those people, as well as individual soldiers from individual races. So it's all about building the best team or the most suitable team that works together based on the powers of each individual card. And each card can be upgraded, you can add experience to them as well as like leveling up their class. So it plays a lot like a traditional, I don't want to say JRPG because that's unfair, but a traditional RPG. And it's great for a lot of the game until you start to hit the paywall because yes, it's a modern mobile game. So of course it has to have microtransactions. And when I first got it, it was fine. You could play a fair bit of the game. Yeah, the option was there to upgrade, but you probably didn't need to as long as you were happy with the cards that you started off well and kept building up the ones that you started with. You were fine. Then there was an update, and suddenly it became completely inequitable to play it without paying money for it, and that's. It's a Star Wars license. You're always going to make money out of people because people are always going to want to throw money at Star Wars. So it just struck me as a little bit too greedy for my taste. That said, for the first 2 or 3 levels, you shouldn't need to upgrade anyone. And if you're smart about how you do your upgrading from the start, you should be fine. It's just a little bit rough later on with that money. And to be fair, George needs it after, selling it for, what was it, 2 billion? 3? Something.
So comic books.
Books of comic sequential art.
Yep, that's true. Batman the Black Mirror. Now, you're not a superhero kid.
No, I hear you're not either
I
a
am
superhero
not, no,
kid.
I'm not a superhero kid. Just doesn't do it for me.
No.
And particularly DC.
No formation of the pants when the mention of superheroes is upon your
not
ears?
Not really. The only one that is ever interested in me is Logan. And so, okay. So we're in the wrong ballpark to begin with. DC.
Balls, park. Yep.
Yeah,
no,
that wasn't
cool.
what I said, but
No,
that's fine.
yep. Back on
So,
track.
Batman, is it good enough for you to recommend it? Is it enough to bring you back on board the superhero bandwagon?
No. Now let me explain to you why.
Sure.
It's kind of meh for the first 2/3. But the Jock art by Jock is jocktastic.
It's jocktastic.
If he was a strap, he would be a jock strap of awesomeness. Back to you.
Thank you. Now I have to give that context. So it's one of the Robins playing Batman set in the
Dick Grayson
future
is now Batman.
Yeah, it's future Batman. I don't know. It seems odd. And then
Yeah, well, there was robotic legs in it at one point. So.
yeah, and then like so the middle part comes along, which is probably the best part, which is the film noir kind
Yes,
of part.
yes.
And then it's just by the end of it, I just kind of think, why? What does this tell me about Batman? I don't really
No,
know.
yeah, it was just a it had a start, a middle, and an ending, and that
Yeah,
like-
it was by the numbers. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be the kind of thing that drags you straight back into these kind of things if you're not into them to begin with.
So as an outsider, I thought this was going to be very Joker heavy, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
His cameo was probably the best.
It was great, but yeah, it was like 10 pages of an entire graphic novel, so
Yeah.
trade or whatever you want to call it. So
So, meh?
yeah, just
general
meh.
consensus
Not
meh?
shit, but just if you're a Batman fan, you'll probably like it.
Yeah, 'cause
For
you get
everyone
more of the
else,
references, yeah.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah. The other one is The Escapist. So it's I guess how do we describe it? It's a comic book about people making comics.
Yes.
So he buys a license to The Escapist and he makes a comic book.
Yes, he brings an old 40s character back to life.
And it's based on a novel.
With science!
No.
And art.
Yes. Okay.
Mostly art.
Yeah. Versus.
Well, the science of a pen. I mean, ink comes out with no
it's not
gravity.
Science.
Well, I don't understand it.
Okay.
Fucking magnets.
All right. Anyway, you did. That's fine. But I don't know. It was a really good tale. I thought, like when it started, I thought for sure we were expecting another quitter. I thought I'm going to hate this, and it's just going to be him whinging for however long.
Yeah.
But it was really good. It's definitely a retelling, an allegory of the Superman origin story. I think that's what works. Like they play the based on a true story vibe. And
I honestly thought it was for a fair while. Like they did it really well. They nailed it with a zinc galvanized nail.
Thank you. And I don't know. There's nothing really else to say except for the fact that it's much more lighthearted than his other stuff. Because his other stuff is Why the Last Man.
Yeah, Why the Last... Good pedigree. Brian K. Vaughan.
Yes, that's correct. And also Saga, which is his new one.
Saga, he's knocking it out of the park lately.
He is. He's doing some good stuff. And again, this is real different from both those. They kind of have the real heavy, ominous kind of airs to them. This, a lot more lighthearted. Yeah,
on a scale of serious to funny, 1 being serious, 10 being funny, this is like a 7.5, 8.
But yet it's not vapid. Like
no,
it doesn't,
not cheesy.
It's not shallow, which I guess is like speaks to how good a writer he is. Because otherwise, there's so many times where you just read stuff. It's like, what the hell am I reading this for?
If you had to try to describe it to me, I probably would have thought, but having read it, definitely. I think it's for anyone. There's no specific flavour. Give it a go.
Agreed.
I was very, very excited to do Infinite Crisis, and I actually left another book I was working on halfway through to sort of jump on this one. Unfortunately, we realized by the end of the first issue, because we'd all started so late, probably about 5 months late, that I was never going to be able to finish the book. So by issue 2, the writer, the editors, and I were trying to figure out which scenes were going to go to different fill-in artists, because there was just no physical way that I was going to be able to draw 32-page issues and get the book in on time as needed with the schedule. I remember by issue 5, we were 8 or 9 months late. And so we were just sort of cranking that book out, like just passing those pages on to whatever, to whoever could hold the pencil, as they say. So my memories of Infinite Crisis are literally working with my editors, Eddie Berganza and Janine Schaefer, and saying, which scene goes to which person? I need reference for this scene. Here are my breakdowns for Jerry Ordway. Can Andy Lanning ink the Wonder Woman scene? I mean, that's literally my memories of Infinite Crisis. It was just getting started so late, a huge editorial, a large company crossover like that, just, we had to get it done. 52 had to launch out of Infinite Crisis. They weren't going to move that off schedule. So there was no late book either. It just, those issues had to come out every month. It depends on, I would have different kinds of advice for aspiring artists and writers depending on where they want to work in the industry. In mainstream superhero comics, Marvel Comics and DC Comics as American companies, I would say just know that you are part of a well-oiled machine, that those characters are not yours, that you are there to sort of keep the brands alive and going. It's a great place to make money, a great place to establish your name, and it can be a lot of fun working on characters like the X-Men. But it's a small, tight industry, and there's a lot of competition. If you're going to get into independent comics, which I actually think is the way to go, I think it's really exciting because there's so many avenues now, especially with the internet, for young people to distribute their work and to be seen. But I would also argue that you're probably not going to make a lot of money in the beginning. And that's really the trade-off. You can work with the bigger companies and make a lot of money and work on icons like Spider-Man and Superman. Not going to be a lot of control, and that material will not be yours. You can work in independent comics, own the material, create what you want to, distribute it the way you want to, but you might not make a lot of money in the beginning. So it's just, it really depends on what you want out of the industry.
So welcome to week 3 of our awesome Con Computers Australia and Roccat competitions.
Yes.
Timmy, what do we have this week?
This week we have the Cone Pure Mouse from Roccat. This specifically changes colour. So I'm very particular about the colour of my PC setup, and everything in my PC is blue LEDs. You can change the colour in this mouse.
Oh, see, then you'd like my car, because you know that my Speedo and everything glows like sports blue, and now my radio is its original radio, and I don't want to change the radio because then it won't be blue. And I'm like you, it
red or
has.
something. No,
See, that doesn't work.
have
It
that.
has to be all one colour. So that's the good thing about this mouse. So. To win it, Timmy, all you have to do is tell us in 25 words or less. Number 1, answer us this. How many DPI
does this 4000 DPI mouse have?
And number 2, why is keyboard and mouse combination better than a controller to play a game with?
Well, firstly, PC
Yes.
Master Race. It's
here
better
we
with
go.
everything. So.
I hear words and nothing. Anyway,
So yes, keyboard and mouse. Why is it better? Give
Enter.
us some game examples, maybe. Enter on our Facebook or email contest@newgameplus.tv.
Yes, now, of course, we probably do need a keyboard if we're making the
Yeah.
argument of keyboard and mouse. So
Maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe keep an eye for next week. But don't forget, enter this. You have 2 weeks, guys. Get going.
Well, this is very strange. It's like steampunk with fantasy and I don't know, it's weird.
It is bizarre, and I think the art style as well makes it a bit bizarre because it is a surreal art style. Like there's a realism to it, but they're still cartoony enough that it's not quite all realism. I don't know. It's really hard to actually shoehorn this.
And from this trailer, it's like we're trying to work out what kind of game it is. And from the press release, it was like it's a competitive multiplayer with lots of strategy, and it kind of looks like a 5 versus 5 battle arena sort of thing with different sort of layouts.
Yeah, at least the
and
background story we have is that warfare's kind of been changed, as we know. There's no gunpowder anymore, so factions can battle each other in war zones. So it doesn't actually set a backstory as to are you fighting for a specific goal, or is it just Super Smash Brothers. Like,
Yeah, and like instead of sending an army, you send your champions. Like they wouldn't the old like you send out your champion and they fight against the other champion and the loser surrenders or whatever. I don't know. It could be interesting, but it is a long time away. Like beta 2015. That's ages away.
It is. It's a really early announcement, but apparently it is the first game by Battlecry Studios, and it is Bethesda. So who knows? It could be really interesting. But beta 2015.
Now, Wolfenstein is a many-storied franchise with lots of good and bad examples of the series.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the problem coming into making a new one, is there's so many fond memories of the original. It did so many things as far as, effectively began first-person shooters.
Yeah.
It has like this major pedigree. Then there's some not so great ones.
But now, Wolfenstein The New Order. And I think it does a really good job of throwing back to what Wolfenstein was to people.
And I think that's probably its biggest strength is it's the fact that it is nostalgia wrapped in a modern shooter.
Yeah.
So there's elements of modern shooter in there. On console it has abhorrent aim assist. Like it is horrible and you can't turn it off, and it's a single player FPS, which I don't understand. Yeah. But that's probably one of my bigger complaints on it. But as far as the actual game itself goes, it feels great. It's got armor, you can overcharge your health, you can dual wield. It just feels like a PC shooter, like the old PC shooter in so many ways.
Yeah, and like you're fighting mechanical dog Nazis and all these big. It's not Mecha Hitler, but
no.
You do have like the big Nazi war machines, and of course this is. Well, it's now based in 1946.
Yes, so the game starts in 1946, so it's effectively alternate history.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Turning Point, but good.
Yeah.
And most of the game actually takes place in 1960. We won't spoil, but most of it takes place in 1960. So there's been some progression, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, the game is inherently cliched.
Yes.
Like, not horribly so, but okay, you're the blonde, blue-eyed American with a Polish surname who nails a hot Polish broad. The Jewish guy is like Jerry Lewis, and it's all based on, Jewish mysticism, and like everyone is a cliche, and yet they're horribly endearing. And I think
works.
It does. It really does. And you want to finish it because on a very simple kind of, you want to see it go through, it works.
Yeah.
As far as a serious business, like, trying to reconcile the idea of murdering all these Nazis, it does not do such a good job of that.
It's thrown about so lightheartedly. It's like, got to kill all the Nazis.
Yeah.
And I guess that's fine for a Wolfenstein game, but you're there just to have fun, dual-wield shotguns, and shoot some Nazis, take down some mecha robots.
So don't go into it expecting a dissection of the German war machine, because it's not going to happen. You're pretty much there to kill Nazis.
With your super powerful concrete.
It's the uber concrete,
It's strange, but yeah.
And the other thing as well, I think that really works in the gameplay sense is it is very free. You can approach a situation however you like. You can cut a hole in an event, walk up, sneak around, knife people, silence pistol, or you can just run into a room with dual shotguns and brrr, and that seems to be what a lot of...
Or the laser weapon, you just get the upgrades and whoosh.
Yeah, one hit.
It's good fun.
And so it is really, probably one of the greatest things about the fighting is you can play it how you want to play it. And it's a freedom that's missing from a lot of modern FPS in my opinion. It's all context sensitive. This doesn't have quite as much context sensitive stuff. As a loving tribute, it's fantastic. Mick Gordon's soundtrack, so that's another positive. Worth a look?
Yeah, definitely worth a look.
The one thing I really liked about this game was actually the press stuff before it. Like the advertising campaign had this really cool, like black and red and orange. I don't know. I thought it was really cool. Okay. But the game itself, because it's something you were really excited for.
Yeah, it's not often that you come into a Wolfenstein game and you're probably not expecting that much, but The New Order did really well. It was good fun. I really enjoyed it.
And you played it on PC, yeah?
Yeah, of course. PC Master Race.
Yeah, oh, God. But see, the one thing I will give you is that FPSs... I don't know, I do prefer them on computers.
Yeah, keyboard and mouse is the better way to go. Like, on the console version, you just get the look snap, and it's annoying.
Yeah, and it's also like, I struggle with it because I'm an inverter, so I'm used to everything. Even X-axis I invert, so it's really, I struggle with this. I struggle with it a lot, whereas a mouse makes sense, but with a controller I struggle.
Although I think the studio itself, like half of us are inverted and half of us are normal and play the normal
excuse me,
way.
It's not normal. It's young people versus old people because us old people invert because we're used to Lilac Wars and the way that you invert there because it's about controlling the camera, not controlling
You want
vision.
the direction of the...
No, it's a mentality thing. I think you're
argument
just
for
a young
another day.
person anyway. Yes. So let's wrap this up. So next week, of course, is a big week.
Yes, Watch Dogs is
Watch
finally out, and
Dogs.
everyone's
Everyone's
into
watching.
the-
No,
yes,
not really.
no.
I
watching
love
dogs.
the jokes. Oh man, I love the. Oh yeah, it's like it's a puppy cam, you know,
Yeah.
like and they're wearing hats. Puppies wearing hats. You know, that's it, man. If the whole game was just like taking pictures of dogs, oh man, that'd be so funny. I'd play that game. It's like Pokemon Snap for the new generation.
Dog Simulator
Yeah,
2014.
Dog Simulator 2014. Anyway, moving on. Don't forget to enter all our competitions.
Yep.
We've still got we got our new Rock Out competition and wrap it up, Timmy.
Yep, so visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewGamePlusTV.
And for all your E3 news and pictures, follow our Twitter and Instagram at NewGamePlusTV.
And don't forget to watch our Twitch, twitch.tv/NewGamePlusTV.
Thank you, Kirsty.
Thank you, and enjoy E3, and we will see you guys next week.